just go back to what you said again. I keep going back to the idea of like who the policy staff is and what they're doing. So you said they're 25 years old, I heard, and they're underpaid, which this seems like very important. It seems like they are the ones who basically write the laws for the country, and they're just underpaid 25-year-olds right out of college. Is that right, or are they more experienced people working above them? Like who I'm trying to see the lay of the land and basically how.
Yeah. So maybe I'll say that the median staffer is a 25-year-old on Capitol Hill. But definitely the people who are doing the primary drafting are often older. So these are more like mid 30s, I would say. And they do often have like, a decade of experience or more because it's such a complex, demanding job. But their support staff and like the teams of people in the congressional offices, these are mostly people in their 20s. Because I saw a report recently that the median House staffer salary is under $60,000. It's like $58,000 per year or something, which, isn't that it's below median household income in the United States. But then you need to also remember that DC is an expensive cost of living city, and these are all almost exclusively college educated and sometimes graduate education jobs. And so the opportunity cost is much higher. They could go get paid much more in the private sector. And the hours are grueling on Capitol Hill. They have to often work evenings and weekends, and it's just insanely demanding. And so, they need help. And if you can be helpful to them in the right way that helps them advance their goals, then you can be much more successful.
And the people who get these jobs, so like when you're like a Supreme Court clerk, usually you're the person who went to the top law schools and you were like first in your class, and then you go clerk for Ginsburg or Scalia or people who are not anymore anyways, but other Supreme Court justices. Are these people like, are they just hiring sort of state school graduates? Are they like, if you're like the smartest conservative at Harvard, is going on the policy staff something you would do or not really? I'm just trying to get an idea of like the kind of people who fill these jobs.
Yeah, I would say maybe put them in two different buckets. Yeah, like the Supreme Court clerks are definitely in a whole category of their own. Like they're almost exclusively hiring like the top conservatives or liberals graduating from Ivy League schools who served on like law reviews and things like that. There are so many more jobs on Capitol Hill. Staffers, communication staffers, legislative directors.
How many? So like how many would like McConnell have, and how many would Schumer have, and how many would like the typical congressman or senator have? Just ballpark. You don't have to like give
ballpark. I think for leadership, it's like more than a dozen, maybe up to a couple dozen. And then in the smaller, like just rank and file members, they have 6 to 10 kind of full time staff. And then you also have to remember that committee staff are full time, so there are people who they just work for the committee, not necessarily a particular member of Congress. And those are the more senior jobs. Those are the jobs that pay more. They're the most desirable jobs in DC. And both the majority and minority party on the committee have their own staff as well. Whether you're in the majority or minority depends how many paid staff positions you get for that. And so, so it varies widely by, how senior is your member on certain committees, and are they in leadership, of course. And it's for those jobs, for the entry level, jobs, the sorting mechanism is much less like, did you go to an Ivy League school? It's, are you willing to work for $30,000 a year in Washington, D.C., even though you're a college graduate? Which is, we advocate, it's not a primary issue for us, but we're definitely supporters of increasing pay for these kinds of positions, because we want the best people. We want to be able to recruit the best to serve in government. And two, you don't want this filtering mechanism to be whose parents can give them money to support, paying their rent in DC when it's so expensive and things like that. And so often it's who's willing to take the unpaid internship, who's willing to work long hours for low pay. And it creates bad outcomes sometimes.